Hey there, everybody. I'm Snags.
And I'm Ol Silky.
And for this episode of the podcast, we're going to talk about Mickey Spillane's Mike Hammer, the famous noir character, originated in the 50s. Me and Silky have been reading the books over the last year or so, and then getting into the films and blah, blah, blah. And we just figured it'd be a fun subject to jibber-jabber about.
And this is not as obscure as you might initially think when you think about movies like L.A. Confidential. Liam Neeson just did a Sam Spade movie.
No, it was Philip Marlowe.
Philip Marlowe.
Yeah.
Philip Marlowe, and HBO has a huge second season of Perry Mason. So this genre is still very popular.
I went through from like 2010 to 2020. I went through a phase of just binging on film noir. Had like DVR, and I would just record tons of movies off of Turner Classic Movies and all the streaming platforms, find any film noir I could, the 40s and 50s OG film noirs, and I just couldn't get enough. And it's at the point now where if I start watching a film noir, 9 times out of 10 I'll realize I already saw it. So it's a great genre, obviously. A lot of...
Oh, yeah. I just... you kind of point out that, the procedural cop shows are always, people are always watching that stuff. And I think, you go back to your, 50s, the narrator, the Humphrey Bogarts, it's just so popular still. I think there's definitely an audience out there for this stuff.
And the Mike Hammer stuff, at least the books that we've been reading over the last year or so, are from the 50s, and it's kind of shocking how hardcore they can get. And the books were generally a little more hardcore than the movies in the 50s, but that were based on the books. But it's... you got the underbelly of this post-war white bread mainstream society. There was a rush to get back to normal after World War II, and the 50s have this reputation as being this kind of generic, boring, glossy, superficial time. But underneath all that, you had a lot of cool shit happening, with the beatnik movement and all this noir stuff that was coming out. And these Mike Hammer books, they're written in the 50s, but you've got all kinds of ethnicities represented. You got crime, drugs, prostitutes, strippers, spies, different sexualities represented, gay characters in books from the 1950s. Yeah. So it's bold and edgy stuff, and the violence. There's violence in there that Quentin Tarantino would be proud of. The passage I was reading today in One Lonely Night, which is the book I'm finishing right now, which is the 4th book. He takes a Tommy gun and machine guns some guy's arm off. He's like,
oh yeah,
and his arm fell off, and he looked down and couldn't quite believe that it was laying there on the floor. And then I convinced him by pumping his belly full of lead, and he comes in and finds his secretary's been taken hostage, which happens a couple times in these books and movies. He's in love with his secretary Velda, and she always gets taken hostage. But in One Lonely Night, he walks into the warehouse and she's naked, hanging from her wrists. Completely naked. It's some interesting edgy shit for the 50s. So
yeah, I mean, in a lot of ways, it's like Robert E. Howard's some of the things he wrote aside Conan the Barbarian, he wrote just some really good stories that had the same kind of vibe. Just real natural writing and violent, cutting edge for the time, for sure.
And the more books and movies I read or view featuring Mike Hammer, the more I feel like when they were writing Dirty Harry, that Mike Hammer had to have been in the minds of the writer, because this is a total prototype for Dirty Harry. He's always in trouble with the system. The authorities are always trying to rein him in. He's always out of control. There's a lot of parallels between Dirty Harry and Mike Hammer, for sure.
Oh, yeah.
But
and you had other authors that were writing. Dashiell Hammett has a whole series. He was the author that wrote The Maltese Falcon. But, yeah, that was in the 30s, Dashiell Hammett. But
and if you read that stuff, it's still a little tame compared to the Mike Hammer stuff. I mean, Mike Hammer stuff gets fucking gritty. Sure. Yeah.
Mickey Spillane just really had his finger on the pulse, I think. And this ties in indirectly. I made a comment last week when we were talking about the MC5, how I said that people came back from World War II and started the Hells Angels and things like that. I don't want people to think I'm saying that that the MC5's parents were Hells Angels. It's just that across the country, out of the 40s into the 50s, you had a real tough blue-collar, generation that,
right.
They were really coming up, and so with these Mike Hammer books, it appealed to these guys. They didn't want pretty and they were reading.
People had been through hell with World War II.
Books,
mm-hmm.
that were violent and had all the half naked lady. It just appealed so easily to this young 20-something generation.
So I'm eating dinner here. So if you hear eating sounds, that's me eating dinner. But anyways, it'll be a podcast over dinner. So, one thing we'll get into the this Mickey Spillane, Mike Hammer books, the actual plots of the stuff that we've been reading and watching. But one interesting thing that they all have in common, especially the books, and especially the Kiss Me Deadly, but all of them, really exciting, energetic, shocking climaxes at the end. And I saw an interview with Mickey Spillane, I think it was on YouTube, and he said he writes the climax first. Comes up with the wildest...
and
works his way back to figure out what would have led up to that. So I thought that was interesting. But so the first book is I, the Jury. And there was a book, and then there was a movie in the 50s that stuck pretty close to the book. And then there was a movie in 1982 that pretty liberal adaptation, didn't really stick to the book as much. It was very 70s kind of a movie, actually. But the book itself, I'm just going to read this summary. I grabbed the summaries off of Wikipedia for these things. The summary for I, the Jury is the longest one. So bear with me through that, and then when I'm reading the summaries for the other stuff, they'll be a little bit shorter. But I need to read this just to give you cats an idea of what the book is about. Then we're going to talk about the book and the various movie adaptations. So the novel opens as Mike is called to the apartment of insurance investigator Jack Williams, who's a very close friend of him. Williams was crippled, saving Hammer's life during World War II. He loses his arm, right? So he can't do police work, so he becomes an insurance fraud investigator. And he ends up getting murdered, deliberately shot in the stomach in order to make the death really slow and painful. So Mike vows vengeance. Mike Hammer doesn't take no shit, right? So he's mad. And declares that Jack's murderer will die in the same way that Jack did. Prior to his death, Jack had fallen in love with this chick named Myrna Devlin. When he stopped her from committing suicide, she was about to jump off a bridge. He talked her out of it. She fell in love with him. And Williams took her to therapy to this psychiatrist named Dr. Charlotte Manning, obviously a young, beautiful blonde. It's got to be. And Myrna, basically, she was a drug addict. She became clean. And she and Jack Williams became engaged. And the couple maintained a friendship with the psychiatrist, Manning. Over time, Jack began to suspect that this cat named Hal Kynes, who was one of Manning's college students, she was also a professor teaching psychiatry, that he was a criminal. And then shortly after that, Jack gets killed, right? So in the course of his investigation, Mike Hammer falls in love with Dr. Manning, the psychiatrist, and they actually become engaged. And in the course of the investigation, Mike uncovers a narcotic ring. And this is what Jack had been on the verge of exposing before he died. And the rest, we're not going to spoil it for you, but that's the setup.
Right. Good stuff.
Yeah. So what do you think about this, the book, the original book, and the original movie? I'm eating, so you got to do some talking.
The original movie, I actually have a nice little collection going. The original movie was in 3D, and you can actually buy the Blu-ray in 3D, but you have to have a 3D player and a 3D TV for the 3D to work.
That sounds really exhausting.
A 2D version. The original movie came out in 1953, written for the screen and directed by Harry Essex, and it's very enjoyable. And Biff Elliott plays Mike Hammer, who's just this kind of big thug-looking dude. A good portrayal. And there's a cool bonus feature where they actually interview Biff many years later. He's got to be pushing 90 in this interview, but just for any fans of, like I say, the L.A. Confidential, some of these other noir type movies. They even recently did A Walk Among the Tombstones, was very popular. So it's out there. People are watching this kind of stuff.
So that's basically the setup of the original book and movie. The movie, the 1950s Eye of the Jury, used to be on YouTube. That's how I originally saw it, but I couldn't find it.
You did see it, okay.
Yeah, I couldn't find it when I was prepping. I was going to watch it again. Now, in 1982, they do a different version of the film. It's also called Eye of the Jury, but it's totally kind of redone. Even though it was released in 82, it's a very 70s movie. It's got a lot of the 70s motifs, starting right off the bat with disco music under the credits. Armand Assante
and Barbara Carrera.
Yeah, so Armand Assante is miscast in both Silky and I's opinion as Mike Hammer. He's like this smooth, suave Zoolander type. Totally not Mike Hammer. And but I found the film entertaining anyways. So the Velda in that film, Velda is usually a brunette. In this film, Laureen Landon plays Velda, a stunningly beautiful blonde girl.
Yeah.
Shockingly beautiful.
And I've seen her in other things, but I can't place where.
Yeah.
I think she was in something called All the Marbles, if I'm remembering.
I haven't checked out her IMDb or anything, but in true 70s fashion, they've replaced the psychiatric facility with a sex therapy / whorehouse, and it's, instead of a narcotics ring, it's a prostitution ring, and there's an orgy scene, and there's tons of nudity, and another 70s twist, the whorehouse, this totally, they shouldn't have called this I, the Jury, because it's not the same plot, but in another 70s twist, bad government intel agents are involved. It's like they try to throw some Day of the Condor in there, 3 Days of the Condor.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
And basically the sex therapy center / whorehouse is being used to blackmail people. So people will come there and they actually do sex therapy sessions with the doctor and admit all their foibles, and those are recorded and used for blackmail later on, and blah blah blah. And it's the U.S. intel agencies that are behind all this, so they're the bad guys. In the 50s, in these Mike Hammer books, the bad guys are usually the commies. In this very 70s style film that was released in 82, the bad guys are the U.S. government, right? So it's a sign of the times kind of film. I look at it as a kind of fun grindhouse B flick. Silky fucking hated it.
It's just bad acting. It was distracting. I mean, the nudity's great. I mean, who doesn't like nudity? But I was looking, having just read the book, I was looking forward to like a really good, gritty early 80s, and it was just kind of cheap.
Instead, you get suave Armando Sante. I am Mike Hammer.
And I think that bothered me the most. Is like, what is this? You know, and then just some of the acting, I just did not. I was like, come on, it just distracted. But you know, it's not. You know, you don't go see a movie called Nuns with Guns and get caught up in the fact that the acting didn't really deliver. You know, it's called I, the Jury. I mean, you know.
So that's interesting. So that's the first book and how it kind of panned out over a couple movies. The next book is called My Gun is Quick. And this one, Mike Hammer befriends this woman in a all-night diner. She's very sweet. Turns out she's a prostitute. And he gives her some money to kind of get out of the business and go back to Poughkeepsie or wherever it is she's from, you know. Here's some money. Buy yourself a new dress. Buy yourself a bus ticket. Get out of town. This city will eat you alive kind of thing. He's basically white knight syndrome kind of thing. I'm going to save this girl. And seems grateful, and tells him she's going to go home back to Granny. And the next day, he finds out she got murdered, right? So, Mike Hammer don't mess around. He's pissed. He's going to find her murderer and get revenge. And in the process, in the book version, he uncovers a massive and powerful prostitution ring, right, in New York.
Yeah.
And so, the second book is actually about a prostitution ring, and this was written in the 50s, and it's a pretty bold subject matter for the time, and really a great book. In the film version, which was also made in the 50s, obviously...
1957 to be exact.
Yeah, Hollywood is afraid to make a movie about a prostitution ring being uncovered, so instead he uncovers a jewel heist. So
yeah, jewel smugglers. Yeah,
right. So it's and again, this movie is a lot different from the book. There's Nazis. There's jewel smugglers. Boat chases and all kinds of stuff. So again, probably shouldn't have been called My Gun is Quick, because You get the prostitute at the beginning who gets murdered, and then the rest of the movie is just completely different from the book. But I liked it. Go ahead.
The movie is really good. Robert Bray plays Mike Hammer, and I think he kind of fits the image, the look a lot better.
He did a good job. Yeah.
And this was co-directed by Victor Seville, who did The Silver Chalice and a great noir called Green Dolphin Street. But it was co-directed with George White, the guy that directed Postman Always Rings Twice.
Cool. That's a classic noir, obviously.
They really do a good job. I also have this. I have this as a Blu-ray. My Gun is Quick. Right along with the two versions of I, the Jury, and but the I wanted to add the I, the Jury Blu-ray has an unaired pilot of a TV show they were going to do in 1954.
Cool. And there is a 1950s Mike Hammer TV series, and you can find the episodes. I haven't watched them yet, but it's Darren McGavin.
Yeah, you can actually buy those too. I've got them saved because it's got Gavin.
Darren McGavin. Yeah.
Darren McGavin. Yeah.
As Mike Hammer. So, and some of those episodes are on YouTube. I'll probably check them out.
Right.
So, so let's see here. The one thing I was going to mention about My Gun is Quick is it is a real classic noir, even though they changed the plot from the book. And there's some wild ass jazz drums during the opening credits. Just 1950s jazz drums. Some hep cat just cranked up on speed and coffee at 2 a.m, just railing on some drums. I'm just imagining that's what it sounds like.
That's what's so appealing about this genre. In one way, the guy always gets the hot chicks. You've got the lounge jazz type stuff.
The music is always great.
Or the hip drink, you know.
Mm-hmm. And of course, in the movie version, they moved it from New York to L.A. because they got to.
Of course.
You want to take a break, and then we'll come back and talk about One Lonely Night?
All that.
All right, we're going to save this sequence so we don't lose it like we did when we recorded the Peter Boyle episode. All right.
Yeah, and this is the first two.
Yeah. Are we going to keep talking about this, or you want me to save it?
No, save it.
All right, people. We'll be right back. All right.
We're back.
We're back.
We did not do our normal intro where we discuss the websites. And
yeah, we got to pimp the merch. Yeah. So here's the deal, all you cats out there. Go to snagsandsilky.com. You're going to find what we call the Click Pit. It's got links to all the cool shit we talk about on these episodes. So we'll link all these books and movies we're talking about. And also, you can go to the Snags and Silky Emporium and grab yourself a hoodie or 2 or 3, because people are going to be cranking the AC this summer, and you really need to bundle up when you're in those offices and those buildings.
It's not safe out there. COVID and stuff. You need to warm up, bundle.
Yeah, you need a hoodie or 2 or 3.
Get you a couple Snags and Silky T-shirts. One of which I'm wearing right now. It actually arrived. Very soft, durable T-shirt, and a great shirt to wear during the episode.
There you go. And we also got a Snags and Silky coffee mug and a Snags and Silky decals on there. We're trying to get like Kiss, where we have one of everything that's available for sale in the world, but with our logo on it.
Right.
So
yeah, the fire-breathing Snags and Silky action figures. There was a problem at the warehouse. So
the kids in China that are making them, they went on strike. So
Yeah.
Almost got something thrown at me for that. That was a bad, tasteless joke.
Oh. Anyway, so we also have on Facebook and Instagram, and it's listed as Snags and Silky Show, and you'll find us, and you can post a picture of yourself with your Snags and Silky metal shirt.
Oh, you got to, yeah, you gotta rep the show.
Yeah. So far, 3 people have pictures posted.
Oh, that reminds me. According to our analytics, we are now big in Slovenia. So we've got listeners from the United States, Australia, Germany, and welcome Slovenia to the house.
Yeah. This
big ups to Slovenia.
Goes out to Slovenia.
That's right.
I said it.
I'm with you. So you want to talk about the third book? After My Gun Is Quick, but Before One Lonely Night. You read that one. It wasn't available on Kindle when I finished My Gun Is Quick, so I skipped right to One Lonely Night. Silky, as y'all are figuring out, is the obsessive completist who has to have every Blu-ray and all the extra features. So, of course, he ordered the paperback, and he read the paperback of the third book. Tell us about that a little bit. I'm putting you on the spot, but...
All right. Well, the third book is called Vengeance Is Mine, and this was a great book. He is, I'm trying to remember now, because I read the paperback and I've read quite a few.
Right. Let me pull it up. I'm pulling it up. This is we didn't plan to talk about this, but then I just realized I was skipping over it.
But at the time, Spillane had over 15 million copies of his books were published in the 50s. But Vengeance Is Mine. I'm looking at the paperback. I think this is the one where
I've got the plot summary. You want me to just lay it down?
Oh yeah,
people?
Do that, and I'll add to it because it's been a while since I've read. Yeah,
this. So I haven't read.
I've got my little Mickey Spillane collection here for the show.
Yeah, he's stroking the cover of his book as we speak. So anyways, Mike Hammer wakes up being questioned by the police in the same hotel room as the body of an old friend from World War II.
I got it. So they shoot. He's got a bullet in the mattress between his legs and above his head. So he could have easily been killed had the killer just turned the damn lights on. And then he's hot on the trail to avenge the death of his good buddy. Digs this bullet out of the mattress. Typical thing. You got the elusive bad guy, and I think there's 2 or 3 hot chicks in the book that he's kind of bouncing around, but he's always keeping Velda on the hook.
Yeah. There's a lot of sex in these books for 1950s.
Oh yeah.
There's lots of seductions going on. There's a lot of sexual tension with Velda, but he's always promising her this and that. I think at some point they get engaged and married in the whole series.
Well, they do get engaged, but then the next book, he's got her on location down in Mexico, keeping an eye on somebody.
Yeah, but you can't have Mike Hammer get married.
Keeping her out of the way.
Right.
And
but
she's barely in the book, and it's kind of a letdown because you can't help but kind of root for this.
She's a cutie, and she helps him solve the crimes.
Thing,
Most in these books, she's usually right there with him, helping him, but he's off, banging the psychiatrist in the one book, or the whoever,
And usually the chickie ends up...
the communist agent in One Lonely Night. He sleeps with her, yeah. So he gets around, lays that pipe. So,
he's a cable guy.
Yeah. So, Yeah, and the thing is, in this one, they're thinking his friend might have died of suicide, and he's out to prove it wasn't a suicide. And Silky told me about the climax of this one, and it's just as shocking and crazy, especially for the times, as all the others. But we're not going to give that away. But that one's worth reading. And then the next book after that, One Lonely Night. This is the one I'm finishing up right now. I'm literally like on the last 5 pages of it. I just didn't finish it during lunch today when I was chilling at the Chinese restaurant. So One Lonely Night. After having been berated by a judge because of killing somebody who needed knocking off bad, this is the summary from Wikipedia, licensed investigator Mike Hammer goes for a walk to contemplate this humiliation on a rainy night in Manhattan and comes across a terrified woman and her pursuer on a bridge. Mike kills the man, but the woman, terrified, jumps to her death from the bridge. Both the man and the woman possessed oddly shaped green cars with the edges cut off at odd angles. And Hammer's friend Pat Chambers, all of these books, you got Velda as the sexual tension, romantic interest, then you got all these girls he's sleeping with, and then you've got Pat Chambers, who's his buddy, who's a cop. So Pat Chambers identifies these cards he found on these two cats as Communist Party cards, right? And this is right in the middle of the 50s. So he's out to bust up this ring of filthy commies who are infiltrating the country and blah, blah, blah.
And at the time you had Hollywood with their McCarthyism going after everybody.
Yeah. It was a sign of the times, but it's a great book. It's really entertaining. I like this one the best of the 3 that I've read so far. There's just the writing is really entertaining, and plot keeps you.
The big kill, I think, is the one that Velda's just barely in after. You get this.
Is that book 5? Is that the one you just finished?
What's that?
Is that book 5? The big kill?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
No Velda, man. That's gonna. I'll power through that, but no Velda. I mean, come on.
Yeah, it just kind of throws off the that tension that you're talking about.
Yeah.
It's just not there. But not to detract from it, they're really good reads.
Yeah. And I think possibly the first Mike Hammer story that I came across was the movie version of Kiss Me Deadly, which we'll talk about next. Man, talk about stunner climaxes, and again, we can't give it away, but holy shit. That's one
of the craziest endings to a movie, period. You're just like, what did I just see?
Yeah, and so when we started getting into Mike Hammer, I think I downloaded I the Jury book and read a little bit of it, and then about 6 months later, Silky tells me he's reading it, and I was like, oh, I've got that on my Kindle. So I started reading it, and we did this with the Rockford Files a couple of years ago. We started watching. We live in different states. We started watching the Rockford Files at the same time, and we just talked about the episodes as we went through. That show is phenomenal, and typically, I like to promise future episodes that may or may not happen, but we'll do a Rockford Files episode at some point.
Oh,
but
yeah.
We've been doing that with these Mike Hammer books, just kind of reading them and talking about them along the way. But Kiss Me Deadly, I saw back in my 2010 to 2020 film noir binge, and I just saw it as a film noir movie. I wasn't really aware that it was part of this massive oeuvre of noir stories featuring this cool cat named Mike Hammer. He's named Mike Hammer in the movie, but I didn't realize it was part of this whole thing.
Well, and it's like the 4th movie.
Yeah.
I don't know if Girl Hunters came out after.
No, Girl Hunters was after. It's the 3rd movie. Yeah. Okay. Girl Hunters was in the 60s, but and we'll get to that next. But so basically, the synopsis of Kiss Me Deadly. One evening, Mike Hammer is forced to suddenly stop his sports car by a woman named Christina, who's in the middle of the road, and she's an escapee from a nearby psychiatric hospital. she's running. Obviously, she's great looking, and she's wearing nothing but a trench coat. Hammer, getting laughter from the wife over here. Hammer gives her a ride. Christina asks him, "Whatever happens to Remember Me," alluding to a poem by Christina Rossetti. I'm not sure what that's how that fits into the summary, but anyway, thugs waylay them, and Hammer hears Christina screaming as she is tortured to death. The thugs then push Hammer's car off a cliff with Christina's body and an unconscious Mike Hammer inside. He comes to in the hospital with Velda, and he decides to avenge Christina's death and investigate it. Must have been connected with something big, and holy crap, it's connected with something big. And I'll just leave it at that. It's amazing what this story gets into.
Oh yeah. The last 5 minutes of this movie are just
for a film noir. It's an amazing.
Blows you away. It really does.
Kiss Me Deadly. You cats got to check it out. Check out the movie.
Yes, directed by Robert Aldrich. Great director.
There you go.
1955.
Yeah. So the next film, and I don't think either of us have read the Kiss Me Deadly book or this next film is The Girl Hunters. Neither of us have read that book yet, but
yeah, no, the next book I need to read is the book version of Kiss Me Deadly.
Oh, there you go.
I do have a I don't know. I think this is Italian. Or it's Spanish. It might be. Anyway, it's The Girl Hunters, but it's Cazadores de Mujer.
Oh, so you're gonna read the Spanish version?
So the title and the cover are all in Spanish, but it's the movie. And
sweet.
It's the only way I can see this movie. I have a PAL. Blu-ray player that'll play.
Yeah, I got one. I've got one of those no zone players where you can buy a Blu-ray, buy a DVD from anywhere.
Exactly, and that's
I'm still
what this
on the DVDs.
is. I found a version of the movie. Rolled the dice because I thought if this is all in Spanish, I'm screwed. It's just the menu. And so you figure out how to play the movie, and it's it's in English.
There you go.
But,
it's also
it's kind of cool having a different language cover and everything. But this one was in
collector's
1962.
Yeah, and so this movie, Mike Hammer, once a renowned private detective, has been on the skids for 7 years, hitting the bottle ever since his associate Velda, with whom he was still in love, disappeared and has been assumed dead, right? So he's totally soused hardcore alky at the beginning of this one. Velda's been missing for years. And then his old pal, Pat Chambers, the cop, is furious with him because it turns out Pat Chambers had some feelings for Velda too. There's a lot of going on in the love front in these books, but Pat,
a little triangle. But and in the movie, Mike Hammer is played by author Mickey Spillane.
That's a significant detail, that we should have mentioned at the very beginning. Mickey Spillane plays his character Mike Hammer in this movie, and I thought did a pretty decent job.
Kind of follow. Apparently, Mickey Spillane was in the military. He was kind of a tough sumbitch. Yeah,
and he understands the character, and he's got some natural acting chops. So it's not.
Sure.
It's not like when Sofia Coppola was in Godfather 3. This guy actually can act.
So, let's never mention Godfather 3. Okay, go ahead.
So Pat Chambers is furious with Mike because apparently, however Velda ended up missing, he thinks Mike is partially responsible out of neglect, not out of foul play. And so Pat Chambers is mad. He's also mad at him because he turned into an alky. As Mitch Hedberg said, I was watching some Mitch Hedberg on YouTube this evening, and he goes, "Alcoholism is a disease, but it's the only disease people yell at you for having." which is
nice.
which is true. Pat Chambers is not happy with Mike Hammer's state at the beginning of this thing, and so this cat is on his deathbed, and he refuses to talk to anybody except for Mike Hammer. Says he has a secret, and he tells Mike Hammer that Velda is alive, and thus the wheels start turning. The plot begins. Mike Hammer is out to find Velda, and it's a good one. It's a good, well-made movie. I haven't read the book version, but I thought it was pretty good. Any thoughts? Any other thoughts from you on it?
On your Kindle front, you can get them in volumes. Volume 2 has One Lonely Night, The Big Kill, and Kiss Me Deadly. And,
there you go.
So, Girl Hunters will be the next book after Kiss Me Deadly. So
sweet. Good and Shirley Eaton, who's femme fatale in this flick, is amazing in many ways.
Yeah.
Acting wise, and she's just another stunner.
Now, do you have any info on the Darren McGavin series? I
don't have much info on it. They did a TV series versions of Mike Hammer in the 50s with Darren McGavin. I remember
it ran a few seasons, so it did well. It had to.
And I remember as a kid in the 80s watching the TV show with Stacy Keach.
Right.
And I can't frickin' find that damn 80s Stacy Keach series.
You gotta and even trying to buy it on DVD. Usually it's the 90s series that you'll find for sale.
The 90s is streaming. A lot of this stuff is on Amazon Prime. I'll drop the links in the I'll drop the links in the click pit. But Stacy Keach 90s version series is on Amazon, and I don't know. I mean, I might check it out at some point. You said you watched an episode or two?
I found streaming. Somebody had some of it,
right?
And they're just, I don't know.
It's a lot of grunge music and
super VHS, or it's just really awkwardly cheap looking.
Oh wow.
The same kind of film that like a porno would have, and you're like,
there you go.
What is this? And
does it have funk music in the background like pornos do?
No. It just looks like a PBS, TV show or something.
Yeah. Okay. Well, you've already convinced me not to watch it.
Very cheap looking.
Yeah.
So I was kind of embarrassed. I had to change it. I didn't even watch a lot of
it.
Right,
but, yeah. So there
it's all good to run it together. Have these old noirs are just so entertaining. Just the style, the good director will capture that black and white, the different shades of light and dark, which mimics the storyline.
The other thing is that when you didn't have all this CGI at your disposal and all these special effects to lean on, you had to put extra money in paying writers and
absolutely
really making sure you had a
really
damn
tight, good dialogue.
Yep. They put
stuntmen that actually weren't tied to ropes and
right, and they put the money and the effort in the script, and it especially the film noir genre, even the B movies were better written than a lot of the crap that you see these days. So
yeah.
Goddamn kids these days with their badly written crap.
There's a good just nostalgia with watching like L.A. Confidential or A Walk Through the Tombstones. I have not seen this new
Philip Marlowe.
Philip Marlowe, yeah. I was thinking Sam. I keep thinking Sam Spade.
Well, those were the two main cats in the noir genre. Exactly. Those two characters. Yeah.
But yeah, Sam Spade, or Philip Marlowe. It looks like a really good movie.
Yeah. So there you have it. That's we've both been grooving on My Camera books and movies lately, and figured we'd share that with you cats and throw it out there. So
yeah, and if you're into that stuff, check out Dashiell Hammett. A lot of great stories. Maltese Falcon, The Big Sleep, set in San Francisco. Same kind of detective type stuff. There's just a lot of great. If you're into film noir, there's a lot of great stuff out there.
There is, and if you got cable, just start scanning Turner Classic Movies, and you'll find a ton of it. Anything that's mystery crime in a category and made in the 40s and 50s is going to be a noir. You got Noir Alley. I think it's every Saturday night. They got a new noir. And just go to Wikipedia, look up film noir, and start from there. And
yeah, actually, I said The Big Sleep. That's Raymond Chandler.
That's the other cat. Yeah, the other main writer. The quality writers that the critics love are Raymond Chandler and Dashiell Hammett.
Yeah.
The crazed extreme writer that we love is Mickey Spillane, but Raymond Chandler and Dashiell Hammett were great writers.
Yeah, Jim Thompson has a great book called The Killer Inside Me, 1952. That is a badass book.
See, I'm learning something. I got to check that out. Yeah.
But all right,
there you have it. I think that's it. We got anything else?
Just check out the shirts. Check out. I want everybody, if you're listening, even in Slovenia, go on Facebook and type in Snags and Silky Show, and just drop a line. Say hey. Say tell me what episode you really liked, or anything.
Tell us what we got wrong. Get on there and snipe about, hey man, you said that was the third movie and it was really the second movie,
right?
Or whatever.
Exactly.
Start some shit.
Yeah, let's stir the pot.
Yeah.
All
right. Cool. Well, I think we're gonna sign out, and it's another one in the books.
Yep. We possibly have a really good show next week. We'll keep it under wraps for now, but definitely tune in next week.
Just guaranteed it's gonna fall through. So.
Yeah. Right. Just shot us in the foot.
Yeah. All right. Peace out, you motherfuckers. Keep it real.
Adios.